Hello again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today, oh my God, it's finally happened. I'm going to talk about Metallica Master of Puppets. I have a very, very long and very deep history with this album. I'm going to start by saying right off the bat, this is one of 4 albums that that I consider my personal favorite albums ever. Of all time, some like to say. I have lots of albums that I said, I love this album, this is a great album, one of my favorites. But realistically, there are only 4 that could possibly be number 1. It's Master of Puppets today. Maybe next month it's one of these other 3. Only 4. I think I may have talked about this before. Place your bets if you think, and there's one of them I've already talked about in this series. The other one I'm going to talk about, I have it sitting right here. I've had it for many, many months. It's just a matter of getting around to it. The other one I don't have. I would love to have. It's one of my top albums that I would love to get, but I just can't get it for a fair price. So Metallica Master of Puppets, and the reason why it's taken me to get, why it's taken me so long to get this album. I got this last summer, I think. This guy Miguel, my friend Miguel, sent me a great box full of records, and included in that box were Justice for All and Ride the Lightning, and I did those, and that kind of, inspired me. I thought I gotta get, and he also sent me Kill 'Em All, and I thought I gotta get Master of Puppets too, so I got that like last summer. And to be honest, as much as I love this album, I don't really know what to say about it. It's maybe the most legendary heavy metal album ever, and maybe I'll talk about that or expand on that in a few minutes. But everybody has an opinion on this record. Everybody's had an opinion about this record for a long time. I don't know if there's anything that I can say about the record itself, the songs, that haven't already been said. So really, I guess this episode is more about, my memories and my really, really, really strong, deep-rooted attachment to this record more than it is about the songs. So without getting too much into my Metallica history, which I've done in the past, at this point, Master of Puppets, when this came out in 1986, let me go back a little bit. I think I didn't finish that thought. The reason why I'm finally talking about it today is I came across a bootleg video a week or so ago of Metallica live on this tour, the Master of Puppets tour at Maple Leaf Gardens, December 9th, 1986. That video bootleg, I was at that show, and I had an original copy of that bootleg shortly after the show happened. I bought it at Record Peddler, and Record Peddler will figure into my Metallica Master of Puppets history in a few minutes, maybe, or maybe longer. But I saw that video, and I've seen that video 1,000 times. As I said, I bought it at the time, shortly after the show, on VHS, and I watched it a ton. I watched it as much as any home, professional home videos, Kiss Exposed, and Motley Crue Uncensored, things like that. I watched this Metallica video, and I come across it online every year, or maybe once every couple years or something. And so I commented on this last week, and I talked about my history at that show. I'll talk about that a little bit when in this video that I'm doing now. And so that was what kind of finally seeing that video, and I think it was on the Metallica, very, very famous Metallica bootleg fan site. And that's why that was what kind of motivated me finally to talk about this record today, about Master of Puppets. So at this point in 1986, when this album came out, I had already been a Metallica fan for a couple of years, and they were really, especially at this point, especially after Master of Puppets came out, they were my band. If you know what I mean, there's a lot of bands that you like and love, but there are everybody has one band, maybe 2 bands that you think, this is my band, this is the band that I have, such a strong attachment to. And at this point, Metallica was my band. They were, I guess, my favorites. Kiss had kind of fallen by the wayside with me. Whatever the wayside is, I don't even know where that is. But Kiss had fallen by the wayside, and Metallica had replaced them. Metallica had topped everybody else, and I was a big Metallica fan. Now, my first memories of this record were There was a guy called Brian Taylor in Toronto, and there was also a record store, as I mentioned earlier, called Record Peddler, which is where I bought the Metallica Master of Puppets tour bootleg video. Brian Taylor had, I don't know if he owned Record Peddler, if he was just the manager, or if he worked there, but he was like the metal guy at Record Peddler, and they had great bootlegs and imports and Kerrang and Metal Hammer, things like that. Record Peddler was the place to go in Toronto in the mid, I guess, to late 80s. And he had this radio show called Aggressive Rock or Ard Rock on CKLN, which was 88.1 FM, which was a university, a college station in Toronto. And I used to listen to that all the time. It was on Tuesday, I think from 9 to 11, or maybe it was 10 to midnight, or maybe even 11 to 1. I can't remember. Maybe it was only 1 hour. I don't know. But I used to listen to it all the time. A lot of the heavy bands that I got into, I either got into from Brian Taylor and Aggressive Rock, or I knew about them, but, listening or hearing them on that show, got me more into them. I was already into Metallica. King's X, I got into King's X, I think also via Brian Taylor and Aggressive Rock. He mostly played heavier stuff, but he played King's X too. I'm going off already. So he played, I don't know when this album came out, Master of Puppets, sometime in early 86. I would say in the first half for sure. I remember it being out in the summer. I guess it came out sometime in the spring of 86, Master of Puppets. And before that, it must have been, I would guess it was January or February. Brian Taylor on his Aggressive Rock show, he played 2 new Metallica songs. One was Battery, and the other one was Damage Inc. Or if you have more time, you can call it Damage Incorporated. And he played those 2 songs, and as I said, I used to listen to that show, used to tape that show, and I taped it, and I remember this so well because I listened to that tape for a long, long time until I got this record. Maybe it was a few weeks or a month, maybe 2 months. And the thing that I remember was he played, there was some, I guess, discussion in the metal world about would Metallica sell out after, Ride the Lightning was pretty successful compared to its predecessor, Kill 'Em All. Metallica reached a new level with Ride the Lightning, and we're expected to reach a higher level, a plateau, with Master of Puppets. So I guess because of Fade to Black, there's some, is the word consternation or something like that. There was a little bit of anger, I think, towards Metallica that they sold out because they did a song like Fade to Black, and people were speculating that, that was going to lead to more, pussy music like Fade to Black, soft music, not thrash metal like Fight Fire with Fire and Trapped Under Ice. And so when Brian Taylor played Battery and Damage Incorporated, when they ended, and after I had taped them, he said, kind of, facetiously or sarcastically, he said something like, I guess that answers any questions about whether Metallica is going to sell out on this new record or not, meaning that Battery and Damage Inc. or Damage Incorporated were so fast and so heavy and so furious and so metallic that there was going to be, that this would erase all doubts. Yeah. And I love both those songs. I listen to that tape all the time. I remember taking it to my friend, my best friend, Pete, at the time, hated Metallica. He was into Dio and Judas Priest and Motley Crue and Bon Jovi and things like that. He hated thrash metal, hated Metallica. I took that tape to his house, and it had Battery and Damage Incorporated. We listened to it, and I remember this very well. And I'm not calling him out for this because I probably thought the same thing. Specifically with Damage Incorporated, which I'll get to in the track by track. There's that we know now that it's like a bass intro. He, and I guess I did too at the time, thought that was a keyboard. I remember him like kind of, mocking Metallica, saying, keyboards on a Metallica album. Anyway, he ended up loving, I don't know if it was that day, but he ended up loving Master of Puppets and including now, I guess, a lifelong Metallica fan. This album really, really opened up a lot of people to who maybe weren't necessarily into thrash metal, open their minds to thrash metal and to a heavier kind of music. Now, for this tour, as I mentioned, the bootleg of Metallica playing at Maple Leaf Gardens on this tour, that there's a pretty long history with that too. This concert, it was on December 9th, 1986. It was originally scheduled for, I think it was August 8th at the concert hall. Now they ended up playing the show on December 9th, 86. at Maple Leaf Gardens. It was the Concert Bowl, which was not the full Maple Leaf Gardens, which would have been 12 to 14,000, but the Concert Bowl, which is where they cut it in half. They set up the stage at center ice instead of at the end. And but still, it was an arena, and for Metallica, that was a big deal. But originally, that show was supposed to happen on August. It was August for sure. I want to say it was August 8th, but I'm not sure. It was going to be at the Concert Hall. The Concert Hall was a 2,000-seat venue, and where I'd seen Metallica a year and a half earlier with Wasp and Armored Saint. And so now they were going to play this show in August 1986 with Kiel opening. That was canceled or postponed because James Hetfield broke his arm or his wrist skateboarding. And it was postponed to November... I can cheat. November 7th. All right. Then Cliff Burton died on September 26th or 27th, which delayed the November 7th show to December 9th, which was when it actually happened. Now, getting back to Cliff dying, I remember very well the night that, I don't remember that, I remember he died on, for me, he died in Sweden, and they're, 6 hours ahead where I was in Toronto. I saw Ozzy in Queensrÿche that night, September 26th. I think it was a Friday night, and learned, I think it was on Monday at school, that somebody from Metallica had been killed. I think we knew at that point that it was a bus crash or some kind of, vehicular accident. And from what I remember, we didn't know at that point on Monday, which would have been the September 29th, we didn't know that it was Cliff. We just knew, things move very slowly pre-internet. And so there were these rumors and people talking about, somebody from Metallica dying. And I don't remember, to be honest, how I found out that it was true and that it was Cliff. But anyway, I was at Ozzy that night, which for me was September 26th. Cliff died after midnight in Sweden, which is technically his official date of death is September 27th. So there's that. So it got delayed and then delayed again. Then it happened on December 9th. And I do have the ticket here. There it is. Now it's got the original date of Friday, November 7th. And if you go back and look at your Metallica history, you'll see that there was no concert on Friday, November 7th because Cliff had just died a little bit over a month previous and they didn't have a new bass player. I guess Jason Newsted was they got him. I think his first show with Metallica was late November. So at this point, there was no Metallica concert because there was no Metallica. But when this show happened, and what I was going to say, when kind of how it ties together, I should have said this earlier. When I saw Ozzy in Queensrÿche that night, excuse me, they used to make concert announcements before concerts. All right, so between the opening band and the headlining band, or maybe even before the opening band, the local DJ from the radio station who was promoting the concert where you were, he would come out, and I think it was Pino Scaleri who turned out to be Joey Vendetta. He was the local DJ for Q107, I guess. This doesn't say that it was promoted by Q107, but anyway, the DJs used to come in and say, "Hello, everybody, and we're about to get started. Ozzy is going to play, but before we do, we've got an announcement. Metallica," and this was when they first rescheduled. And remember, this was the night that Cliff died. They announced the rescheduled date from August, I think it was 8th. They said, "Hey, coming up on November 7th, we can announce that Metallica is coming to Maple Leaf Gardens." And I remember freaking out. My friends and I were going, "Oh my God," because we already had the tickets and we were going, we couldn't believe that Metallica was going to play Maple Leaf Gardens, because Maple Leaf Gardens was like really the, as big as you could get back then. It was, like Madison Square Garden. So we were just like, because my friends I was with, including Pete and not sure who else, we were Metallica fans, and at that point Metallica was supposed to play the concert hall of 2,000 people, and now they're at Maple Leaf Gardens. I think at this point we didn't know that it was going to be the Concert Bowl, the half, but still, oh my God, Metallica, Maple Leaf Gardens, couldn't believe it. And then it was just hours later that Cliff died and it got rescheduled. So I know that was quite long, but getting back to that concert on December 9th, 1986, that's probably, I've been to 400 concerts, something like that. I think this remains maybe, and again, just like with the 4 records that I consider my favorite, I want to say that this one, Metallica on the Master of Puppets tour, December 9th, 1986 at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, is my favorite concert ever. There are a few other ones that I could, make an argument for, but the first one that comes to mind is this one. That was such a change in the music scene in Toronto or in heavy metal in my life. This was like, all right, and there were like 5,000 people there. I don't know how many people the Maple Leaf Gardens Concert Bowl portion of it held, but yeah, maybe 5,000 or 6,000. And at this point, I guess Metallica was playing to maybe 1,000, 2,000 around the North America or Europe. And this was like, Metallica is now, they've arrived. And that just, if you can go and watch that bootleg, I'm sure it's been widely circulated over the years. I had one of the original ones, I guess, because I got it shortly after the concert. Oh my God, just shocking how good Metallica was. And I saw some really, really dumb comments on this video, the one that I commented on last week. People saying they're playing too fast, it's sped up. No, they weren't playing too fast. They played that fast and they were that good, that they didn't make any mistakes. They were flawless, more than probably, and maybe this is hyperbole, but I think, I don't know if there's any band ever that was as untouchable as Metallica. Nobody could say anything bad about Metallica. You could say bad things about even Black Sabbath at that point. And, AC/DC was, and Kiss, they were all kind of the old guys at that point. Led Zeppelin had long been broken up. Metallica were the kings, the champions, the masters of heavy metal at that point, for those who knew. They could do no wrong. So to see these people complaining, in the last year, whenever that video was posted, that they played too fast, somebody sped the video up, that's ridiculous. Nobody said anything bad about Metallica then. It wasn't, I guess, until the Black Album that people started really kind of giving Metallica shit. But really, from somebody who was there at the time, and I'm not the only one I know, really nobody could touch Metallica. They were gods. They were perfect. Everything they did was great, including Lars. For all the idiots that say, Cliff died, it should have been Lars, you're a stupid person. Or as Michael Wilbon would say, shut up. Get that junk out of here. No, Metallica, Lars included, was just the best. Nobody made fun of Lars back then. Yeah, and rightfully so. And I still, for me, Lars is for me, one of the greatest drummers ever. One of my, I would say, Injustice for All, maybe even Master of Puppets, are 2 incredible drum albums. And I should also say Metallica or Kiss, probably realistically, only Metallica, Kiss, maybe Pearl Jam could be considered my favorite bands ever. Maybe not even Pearl Jam, because they came along too late. So that's my story with not just Metallica, but Master of Puppets. So I'll get to the track by track now. And as I said, it's kind of hard to talk about this because, what do you say? I love every song. Every single song on this album is incredible, except there's one, it's Battery, Master of Puppets, The Thing That Should Not Be, Sanitarium, Side 2 is Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah, Orion, and Damage Incorporated. There's only one song out of these 8 that was never my favorite, and you can maybe guess what one that is. But all the other ones, all 7 at some point, were considered, that I consider my favorite Metallica song, or a favorite song on the album, which is the sign, maybe the best sign of a great album, when any song could be your favorite, and there's not one that you don't like. What great, oh my God, what great memories it gives me to look at this and to hold it. And here's the hype sticker, by the way. It says, obey your remaster. The #1 greatest heavy metal album of all time, according to a Rolling Stone readers poll. 180-gram vinyl featuring Master of Puppets, Battery, Welcome Home, parentheses, Sanitarium. And I would say, and make it clear, there's a big difference between your opinion and the broad opinion of the scope of musical history and legacy. I don't know what else you can consider the even though it is my favorite album, probably it should be considered the greatest heavy metal album ever. What else really could be that? And again, it's not your favorite. Maybe you love some stupid Manowar album. That doesn't mean it's the greatest heavy metal album of all time. Black Sabbath maybe had the first, not maybe, they did have the first heavy metal album, but I don't know if that was considered. When you talk about sales, impact, influence, legacy, reverence, it's really no doubt that Master of Puppets, really, what else could it be? The greatest heavy metal album of all time? Nothing else really comes close. Maybe the first Black Sabbath album is the most legendary just because it was, the first and it was older, but nothing, I repeat, nothing touches Master of Puppets. Not just in my world, but I think in the musical world, the world of heavy metal. All right, so I'll open this now. And let me do it from the bottom end. It's got a little bit more opening there. And what does Mike Pratt think about Master of Puppets? I think it's impossible to not like, unless you just don't like heavy metal or you don't like heavy music. I don't know how anybody can not like. I mean, my mother doesn't like Master of Puppets, but if you're a metal fan, really, you shouldn't have anything bad to say about Master of Puppets. It really is, I guess, as close as you can get to being a perfect album. Let me take this cellophane off. Oh, and the album cover is great too. It's funny how that goes together. Great albums have great album covers, or vice versa. So, and I think it's just black vinyl. I think there's the insert. Now, when this came on the original record, this was the sleeve, but I guess now it's the thing to do to put this as a separate piece of paper and have these nicer sleeves. It's just black vinyl. Yeah, there it is. No, it doesn't have the Elektra black and red label, but that's okay. I'm having a hard time getting. I've hit the wall. Why do they make these so difficult? There we go. All right. So the first song is Battery, and again, what the hell do I say about Battery? It's guess what? It's my favorite on this album, and I'm going to say that 6 more times, I think. My God, Jesus Christ. It's that acoustic guitar opening. That was kind of, Metallica did that on the previous album with Ride the Lightning on Fight Fire with Fire. Exodus did it on Bonded by Blood. Was it No Love, the first song on side 2? They give you this kind of, they lure you into thinking that it's all quiet and mellow with an acoustic guitar, and then it kicks you in the face. And Battery is just my God, just what a furious song. Lashing out the action, returning the reaction, weak and ripped and torn away, hypnotizing power, crushing all the cower. Battery is here to stay, smashing through the boundaries, lunacy has found me, cannot stop the battery. Pounding at aggression, turns into obsession, we create the battery. Incredible song. Just back then, and I think now I could never get enough of this song. And I would say the last, is it maybe 15, 20 seconds of this song? That is almost like the definition of thrash metal. If aliens landed, or some other stupid thing, and you had to demonstrate what is heavy metal, what is thrash metal, that last few seconds of Battery, that is thrash metal. Incredible. Battery is just unbelievable. The next song is Master of Puppets. Now this one, I would say maybe should be considered the greatest heavy metal song ever. Again, drawing, making the distinction between my favorite and what could be considered the greatest, like the best demonstration of heavy metal. I'm not sure if Master of Puppets is my favorite on this album or not. As I said, it could be any of 7 of them. But this song, as much as I love Battery and some of the other songs, Master of Puppets, it's 8 minutes. Was it 8:36? 8 minutes, 35 seconds, Master of Puppets is. And it's got everything. It's not a long song like some kind of Monster where, they just, it could be a 4 or 5 minute song and they just repeat it. This song is full of, I've talked about this before, how much I love these long songs that it sounds stupid to say, but they kind of take you on a journey. How Many More Times by Led Zeppelin, Iron Maiden, Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Unlike the other, the Iron Maiden, more, the last few albums that are long and just boring and repetitive and unnecessary. Master of Puppets just has so many changes in it, so many ups and downs, and it's heavy, it's quiet, and maybe overlooked is the dun, 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 master, where's the dreams that I've been after? I feel like that's overlooked as being one of the heaviest musical bits ever created. People might talk about, some parts from Slayer, Pantera, Black Sabbath, or whatever, but that part of Master of Puppets is just incredible. Another one that I just couldn't get enough of, even when they play it live, I can still summon the same, when I go see them, I can still summon that same feeling and energy. Yeah, oh my God, Master of Puppets is a masterpiece. That should be, maybe that or War Pigs, I think should be considered the epitome of heavy metal is those two songs. The Thing That Should Not Be is next. Maybe, God, is this the heaviest Metallica song ever recorded? It's just heavy, slow, greasy, grindy. And I love that, the first, how Hetfield, how can I say that? How he alternates lines of the songs from kind of mellow or normal to heavy or aggressive. What's the opening line? Messenger of fear and sight. Messenger of fear and sight. And then dark deception kills the light. He just, he just brings it. He's just so aggressive and so heavy singing that. Hybrid children watch the sea. And then again, he takes it up. Pray for Father, roaming free. Da, 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 da. And I'm not even going to sing that because, well, obviously. Fearless wretch, insanity. He watches lurking beneath the sea. Great Old One, forbidden sight. He searches. Hunter of the shadow is rising. Immortal. You know the song. Just incredible. Any one of these three songs is my favorite. And next is Welcome Home, parentheses, Sanitarium. My only problem with this album is that they should have just called the song Sanitarium. Why Welcome Home? Just call it Sanitarium, for God's sake. This was following in the footsteps of Fade to Black. Definitely not a ballad, but quieter, and then heavy towards the end. They did it with also with One, and I guess kind of with The Unforgiven. But the heavy section of Sanitarium, Fear of Living On, Natives Getting Restless Now, Mutiny in the Air, Got Some Death to Do, Mirror Stares Back Hard, Kill It, Such a Friendly Word, Seems the Only Way for Reaching Out Again, and then it just rips into that fucking awesome solo, and it's fast and heavy. Oh, this is really the perfect album side. Perfect album, but this side especially is perfect. And then it maybe gets even better when you turn it over because the first song is called Disposable Heroes, and that's another long one. It's 8:16 Disposable Heroes is. It doesn't quite have the changes that Master of Puppets has. This one is more thrashy than Master of Puppets, but worthy of being an 8-minute and 16-second long song. Bodies fill the fields I see, hungry heroes end. No one to play soldier now, no one to pretend. Running blind through killing fields, bred to kill them all. Victim of what said should be, a servant till I fall. And then it gets thrashy. Soldier boy, made of clay, now an empty shell. 21, only son, buddy served us well. Bred to kill, not to care, do just as we say. Finished here, greetings death, he's yours to take away. Oh, incredible. Just unbelievable. Next is Bow to Leper Messiah, spineless from the start, sucked into the part. This one is kind of a little bit in the vein of thing that should not be. It's not a thrash song, but it's slower and heavier. Something I remember about Leper Messiah was reading in either Kerrang or Metal Hammer or one of those British magazines. Metallica played at Donington in must have been the summer of '87, and Anthrax played there too. And I remember in the reviewer they wrote about it. They talked about when Metallica was playing Leper Messiah, Scott Ian was off to the side of the stage and could be seen headbanging and stomping furiously to Leper Messiah. It's strange how you remember things like that, but that's what I remember. That's what I think about Leper Messiah is Scott Ian headbanging along to it. Even though I didn't see it, I remember reading about it in one of these British magazines. Yeah, Leper Messiah, man. What a unbelievable song that is. Now the next one is Orion, and this is the one that was never my favorite. And as a matter of fact, I would say back then, I liked it. I never loved it back then. I've talked about this before. I'm not really the biggest fan of instrumentals. Like to me, it's generally the vocals that catch my attention. There are some exceptions. Coast to Coast by Scorpions is incredible. Iron Maiden, Lost for Words. There are a lot of introduction kind of Testament for the Glory of. Is that what it was called? The first song on Formation of Damnation. But Orion was like 8 minutes, 8.5. How long is Orion? 8:27. And to be honest, at the time when I was 16, I thought it was a little bit boring. I liked some parts of it. I love it now. This is one song, maybe more than any, that has really grown on me from any band, from what I liked, from what I thought at the time to how much I like it now. And I don't know if I guess I didn't realize at the time, but how big of an Iron Maiden influence there is on this song. That bass part of the really, really quiet, the and then very, very Iron Maiden influence on that song. So that was one, and I did see them play it. I know they don't play it live very often, or they didn't until maybe somewhat recent years. I saw them in Mexico City in 2012, and they played it. And that was, I think at that point, they'd only played it a handful of times. So that was cool to hear. And then the last song is Damage Incorporated. At the time, for sure, kind of the opposite of Orion. I was a young 16-year-old raging thrasher, and I liked Damage Incorporated at that time even better than Battery. I'm not sure if that's true now. Maybe I've grown to Battery a little bit more. But there wasn't anything combination of faster and heavier than Damage Incorporated at that time. And as I said, that bass intro, which my friend Pete and I thought was keyboard, dun 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 dun, that is thrash metal. Dealing out the agony within, charging hard and no one's gonna give in, living on your knees, conformity, or dying on your feet for honesty, inbred, your body works as one, bloody but never cry submission, following our instincts, not a trend, go against the grain until the end, blood will follow blood, dying time is here, Damage Incorporated. Couldn't get enough of that song, and I bought the at that concert on December 9th, 1986, not November 7th, 1986, I bought and all my friends, I went with Pete, Jason Sinnington, Paul Sadu, Dave Donaldson. There was at least the 5 of us. I think we all bought the same shirt, the Damage Incorporated shirt, the skull with those the big clubs with the spikes coming out of it, and on the back it had a pile of skull and bones that said "Honesty is my only excuse." Damage Inc. Tour, "Honesty is my only excuse," of course, being a line from Damage Incorporated. Couldn't get enough of that song. Still can't get enough of it. So that's it. Now, speaking of Metallica, they're playing here. God, these shows were announced almost 2 years ago, and they're still almost 4 months away. They're playing 4 nights here in Mexico City at the big stadium called Foro Sol, where I've seen them there several times in the past. And they're playing there 4 nights. I don't have tickets for any 4 nights. There's just no way I can buy concert tickets 2 years in advance. So when tickets went on sale 2 years ago, there's no way I was going to buy them. All 4 are sold out now. I'm hoping that some tickets are going to open up at some point, maybe in the days before the show. I still don't know what I'm going to do though, because they're playing 4 nights. I guess they're playing the no repeat weekends. Well, Mexico City is the only market in the world where they're playing 2 weekends. Everywhere else they play, I guess, I think it's typically Friday and Sunday, or maybe in some cities it's Thursday and Saturday. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm going to go to 1 or 4 or 2 or 3. It kind of sucks, to drive to Mexico City, come back, and then drive there again 2 days later. So I don't know, but I'm not nervous about getting a ticket because it's still 4 months away. But I don't know how I'm going to get a ticket for that show. But I'm hoping to hear, and that also depends if I go to 2 or 4 or 1 is going to depend if, they call it the no repeat weekend. And I don't know if all 4 of the shows are going to be different, or if the first 2 is one group and then the second weekend is another group with some songs repeated from the first weekend, which I think is what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to do 4 different shows. If I knew they were for sure, I would make a pretty decent effort to go to all 4 shows. But I feel like I have to hear Battery. I never did hear, and I still have never heard Disposable Heroes live. They don't play that very often. And I don't think they played it on this tour at the time. I think they didn't play that until the Black Album tour. And I never heard Leper Messiah live. I have heard Damage Incorporated and Battery. I would love to hear them again. I've heard Sanitarium several times. I would love to hear The Thing That Should Not Be, although I don't know if they're playing that these days. But Battery, Thing That Should Not Be, Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah, Damage Incorporated, which I also haven't heard for years. I would love to hear any one of those 5 songs when Metallica plays here at the end of September. So there it is. What a just incredible album. One of my favorite albums, not one of, possibly my favorite album ever. And I don't think at any point ever got tired of it. I hold this in the highest regard possible. Metallica, Master of Puppets.